GM, everybody. It is Friday, the 22nd of November. Welcome back to the channel. And we have Bitcoin making another new all-time high already today. We are getting closer and closer to that $100,000 level. It's starting to become the talk of pretty much every chat I'm in, every group, every sort of person that I'm sort of meeting. I went out yesterday, and seems like people are starting to talk about Bitcoin again. I had a Bitcoin conversation just before I had my dinner last night with a sort of random person that was serving me, and yeah, it seems to be that Bitcoin is the talk of the town, and obviously it just seems inevitable to me now that Bitcoin's going to hit this 100,000 possibly today, possibly over the weekend, who knows? But we're getting very, very close to seeing it. And I think to myself that, look, if Bitcoin does hit 100,000, another thing I've been hearing is people saying that they expect Bitcoin to have a really sharp sell-off when 100,000 gets hit. I actually think that people would front running the 100,000 up until this point. So, I mean, why are you going to wait for an extra 1% move in price to hit the sell? You're probably going to start selling at 98, 99, maybe even lower, sort of 96, 97. So I think whilst there probably will be a reaction around the $100,000 level, I do think we are leaning towards spiking through that level. And of course, initially, the target is going to be what we've already discussed, which is this 1.618. So we're probably going to run to around about 102,000, potentially sort of spiking through the 102,000 level. So I've kind of got this as a zone of resistance here. So we might even run up to 104, 105. And then I am expecting a reaction. I am expecting probably some sort of consolidation at a minimum. And then potentially we run a bit higher. But I do think we are looking like we will probably get into this box over the next day or two. I've been talking about this Tom DeMark weekly 9 that Bitcoin is on. So potentially this provides some sort of consolidation in the price. The fact that, we're getting fairly overextended on the weekly trend. This Tom DeMark sequential typically is fairly useful in trending markets, especially when assets are at all-time highs and there's not too much support resistance to be able to base decisions on. Traders like to look at this. They like to look at things like Fibonacci extensions. Obviously, this is very popular, or more popular, with traditional finance, as is Fibonacci, very popular in traditional markets. So potentially some of the TradFi guys look to take some profits around this zone. I wouldn't be surprised. And for that reason, I think Bitcoin probably goes into some sort of consolidation or pullback into the start of December. Like I say, the start of each month, we've seen downside come into these markets, into Bitcoin. And, potentially that coincides with altcoins getting a bit of a run, and then yeah, maybe early December we get a little bit of a pullback, but I'm not expecting anything too substantial. And I do think ultimately we will see higher prices into the end of this year. I'd be surprised if we don't close this year above 100,000 at this rate, and probably setting ourselves up for further upside into Q1 of 2025. And just looking at the Bitcoin liquidation maps, we can see liquidations really heavily built up again, just above price here, going into that 100,000 level. So I do think one or two things will happen. Bitcoin will either run through these orders and establish itself at a price above 100,000, potentially, like I say, 101, maybe 102,000. Maybe we sort of squeeze up there, and then we see some sort of reaction and the price come back down. It could be that we just spike through these orders and spike back out again. Remains to be seen. But like I say, I'm expecting quite a lot of volatility and reaction around the 100,000 level and the 102,000 level. So yes, things to definitely keep an eye on and be aware of. Moving over to Ethereum, we can see that Ethereum is carrying on its strength. So obviously, when we did the stream yesterday, we actually took a look at the hourly, and we were literally streaming as this candle had just been printed. So yeah, I mean, for me, Ethereum, it's good to see that Ethereum has sort of held the sort of 3,300 level. And from here, look, I think Ethereum probably does start to make its move over the next couple of months in terms of like a larger move that I would be targeting all-time highs with. So if we just zoom out on Ethereum, we can see obviously Ethereum all-time highs here coming in just shy of 5,000. We've got around about sort of 4,850 odd on the Ethereum all-time highs. So I do think that we probably get up to this level by sort of maybe January, February time. By the end of this year, I do think that we can come up to this trend line here. So that Ethereum move is definitely underway, in my opinion. Be interesting to see if we get much of a reaction around sort of like the 3,800 mark, but I think that'll be the next target for Ethereum. Potentially that happens over the next few weeks into December, and then from sort of December, potentially early next year, we get the move up to 4,800. And if things get really crazy from there, I think we probably see new all-time highs for Ethereum early next year. So that would be just sort of measuring that move here would be sort of decent 40% still. So Ethereum is definitely still, in my opinion, a catch-up trade. Bitcoin smashing through new all-time highs. Ethereum, I think, makes its way there over the next, call it sort of 3 months. Solana as well, really impressive strength. We talked about Solana having this weekly time to Mark 9, finding some resistance at 1.618. And we also spoke about the fact that I thought that would get pushed through, and actually we'd probably find more significant resistance around the all-time high at this 267 area. So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing Solana approach now its all-time highs, and I expect probably some sort of consolidation for Solana here. So look, I mean, Bitcoin's getting to a level where it's likely to consolidate. Solana's coming into a level where it's likely to consolidate. If we do see consolidation from these majors, then I do expect the altcoins will run, provided Bitcoin doesn't get completely smashed down and make a 10 to 20% correction immediately, which I don't think it will. I think price will hold up, probably consolidate. Then maybe we get a pullback in a couple of weeks at the start of December. In that time, in that sort of 2 week time frame, that's plenty of time for the altcoins to really make a push. Things probably sort of come back down a bit and cool off early December, and then we make another push to the upside. And I expect Bitcoin and altcoins and the whole crypto market probably to run on further into the end of the year, into January time. And we go from there. We'll see what happens when Trump comes in. Potentially Trump's inauguration date and the time he actually takes office might actually be a bit of a buy the rumor, sell the news event. I'm thinking maybe at that point we see the market go into maybe a larger correction. Maybe we get something like a 10% correction in Bitcoin early December. Then in January time, maybe that's when we get one of our larger sort of 20, 25% corrections. Everybody has a bit of a scare. The altcoins get a bit carried away into the end of this year, early next year. They cool off. I think it could be US tax season as well. And then, yeah, from there, Trump comes in, new policies come in, things start to get put to work. Bitcoin strategic reserve, you start to get all of this euphoria come back into the market, and potentially we go for a cycle high somewhere towards the end of Q1 or early Q2 in 2025. And I think after that point, we just have to reassess whether we think that we're actually at the cycle high for the market, or unless we think we're actually going to make more of a cycle high and go higher into the end of next year. We kind of aren't going to know that or really be aware of that until we sort of get a lot further into next year. But they're kind of my thoughts just around the cycle at the moment. And If we move on to Pepe, then we'll see Pepe's enjoying quite a nice move. So we talked yesterday about Pepe starting to push up, and it looks like, for now it's just consolidating. Mind you, the consolidation sort of in Pepe, if we look at sort of the sort of high in terms of what we've seen as a pullback, bearing in mind these meme coins can be very volatile, but this is already a 30% pullback in Pepe. So maybe that's all we're going to get. I like the fact that this all-time high has been front run. Obviously, Pepe's now got the Coinbase and Robinhood listings. It's one of our high conviction meme coin plays. I do expect if Bitcoin and ETH sort of push on and consolidate, then Pepe could really start to get moving to the upside here. DXY, we've seen strength coming in. So DXY has made new multi-year highs. It's taken out the swing high from last year. So DXY is actually looking fairly strong. We're getting a bit of a wick here. Let's see what happens here. But obviously, dollar strength, Trump coming in, it's probably not going to be getting out the checkbook quite as sort of quickly or as loosely. It's probably not going to have the same sort of loose policy when it comes to money printing that potentially the Democrats would have had, Kamala, Biden. So that's something to bear in mind. But obviously, the markets are still thinking there's enough positives with Trump coming in. So I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference overall. But obviously, the dollar is strong right now. But I do think the cuts will continue to come once the market realizes that there's going to be money printing regardless, and we're shifting back to QE. There's more interest rate cuts. I do expect the dollar to start to find some resistance, and probably at some point over the next few months does start to come back down, which again would be a bullish catalyst for crypto and the stock market. And we can see the Nasdaq starting to sort of push back up again, and same I expect with the S&P. Sort of not doing anything too crazy, but starting this sort of grind back to the upside, which is in line with what we've been expecting. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Like I say, Bitcoin looking very strong. I am personally expecting Bitcoin to push to 100,000 very soon. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens today. And I'm expecting probably a little bit of consolidation between 100,000 and 102,000 on Bitcoin. Similar with Solana. Ethereum, I still think is value as a bit of a catch up. And yeah, Pepe looks to be sort of doing its thing. I think the altcoins in particular could really start to do well if we see some bullish consolidation on Bitcoin and Solana close to, well, Bitcoin at new all-time highs around the 100K mark. Solana, obviously, just under its current all-time highs. I think that could really set off the altcoins. So I'm going to leave it there. Please do smash a like on this video if you enjoyed the content. Please do hit subscribe if not done so already. I'm going to be coming out with my altcoin pick video later on today. So I've got it prepared. I know what picks I'm going to talk about. I'm going to be releasing that later on today. So if that is something you're interested in, please do subscribe just so you don't miss out on that content. And I will talk to you all again later on. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.